Creative Roots is a project produced by Imrana Mahmood, commissioned and presented by Revolution Arts, and supported by Inspire FM and Arts Council England. Revolution Arts is a small but mighty arts organisation based in the Marsh Farm area of Luton. They work out of their base, Marsh Farm Community Centre, to uncover brilliant stories about local people and places. The Creative Roots podcast showcases voices of participants with a connection to Bury Park, involved in various workshops including mindful henna, Arabic calligraphy and street art, all with a view of exploring identity and native languages. The creative work invites participants to share and explore their own understandings of heritage, belonging and spirituality.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Creative Roots podcast. This is a production by Imrana Mahmood, commissioned and presented by Revolution Arts, supported by Inspire FM and Arts Council England. On today's podcast, we are talking to Sai Assari, who is the author of Dreamers Collection. So really looking forward to getting to know a little bit about her own journey and her perspective on creativity. And so I think we can kind of delve straight in. So Assalamu alaikum, Sai.
Wa alaikum assalam. Hello, hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. A little bit nervous, but I'm trying not to show it. So
No, you don't. Yeah, you don't nervous at all. So yeah, no, it's all good. So let's start with, I guess, what's kind of, first on the things that I want to ask you, because obviously you're a writer, you have that already, I guess, an interest and access to things that are
Mhm.
creative. But what does creativity mean to you?
Yeah, so I've actually been sat with this question and I've been thinking about it, and I've had all these different answers, but I think I've come up with is I actually don't have a complete picture of what creativity means to me. Though I do know that it's something that comes to me as it's not something that I necessarily seek out in my life, but I sort of feel like it's something that seeks me. For example, as a writer, I could be sort of doing the most mundane tasks. I don't know, hoovering, washing the dishes, and in the back of my mind, there is all like almost always like an unfinished story being sort of played out, or I've got like conversations between characters and dialogue. I'm imagining a scene in my story. I'm just constantly thinking up something, and it's almost not even within my control. It's like my brain is like sort of working on autopilot. So that's like again that what creativity is just something that comes very naturally to me. It's not something that I'm consciously trying to do.
Mm.
And sort of in the same way, I'm a mother, just recently had a baby. I'm a wife, and I've got my own home, and I'm constantly sort of searching up ways to make it to add beauty to it, to add warmth to it, and I think that's another sort of aspect of creativity as well. And as my baby gets older, I'm thinking about how do I nurture creativity in my child? How do I want to homeschool? That's something that I'm really passionate in doing, and I'm thinking, children learn through creativity. How am I going to incorporate that into his early life? It's just sort of constantly a dialogue, a conversation that's constantly always on my mind. Um,
Yeah, and
yeah, um, I feel like creativity. Sorry, go on.
no, go ahead. No, I was just going to say that that's such a beautiful
I'm
kind
sorry,
of.
were you going?
So I was just saying that I think it's such a beautiful kind of reflection that you've shared that kind of idea of, yeah, kind of we inhibit different aspects, right, in terms of our lives. So, you've mentioned that, you've just had a baby, so obviously congratulations. And but the
Thank
idea that
you.
creativity, yeah, that it's almost like naturally embedded like within and how you're then trying
Mhm.
to, I guess, manifest that, which is really interesting. And so was creativity like always a part of your childhood? Like, is it something you always had, I guess, access to? What were the type of
Yeah.
things that you were interested in, and how has that kind of brought you to where you are now?
Um, I think childhood is defined by creativity. I think everybody's had it's been a highlight of most people's childhood. Because we that's when we're at our most creative, isn't it? When you're a child, you're innocent, you're engaging in imaginative play. You're not. a child's brain isn't sort of limited to, they don't understand like the laws of physics, the laws of gravity, the laws of society. So it allows for them to to be creative. Um, and I'd say, for my own, regarding my own childhood, it wasn't, I'm going to use the word contaminated because I have such a love-hate relationship with social media and technology, but I'm so glad that my childhood wasn't contaminated by technology. We had sort of free cable television. We didn't have access to a lot of channels. Wi-Fi, internet just did not exist in my household up until I was like, I'd say 14, early teens. And so me and my sisters had to find ways to fill up our time, and often that would take the direction of something creative. We didn't when I think about my childhood, it was like the best time ever. We didn't have doll houses, but we would build our own with cardboard boxes. We had I don't know if those Kinder eggs that you get and you get little trinkets inside. We used
Yeah.
to play with them and they used to be our little dolls, and we used to spend ages like building things and then playing with them. And I think and I did that until I was 14, which is I feel like my childhood sort of extended because I didn't really have anything else to do with my time. So I think that cultivated my creativity, and even till today, I feel like I'm able to I still have that childlike innocence to me. I can still sit with a child and like and still play, and I enjoy it.
Mm.
Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of my childhood was defined by creativity, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that because you mentioned the little Kinder eggs, and oh my God, we did like the same, right? It was such an exciting
Yeah.
thing to go and buy those, or my dad bringing them, back from
Hmm.
work or something, and then yeah, and the idea of building something.
Building, yeah, yeah.
And absolutely, I totally take your point on board about like screens and social media. Because yeah, I mean, obviously, I also grew up, in an age without that, and actually, what difference it makes now. And I think that's
Hmm.
so interesting. Um,
It
so
made such a huge difference. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. No, I
Yeah.
think so. Obviously, at the moment, we're in Ramadan, and I was interested to find out from you, like, how does engaging in creativity, how does that influence your connection to your faith? And obviously, because it is Ramadan, do you get still a chance
Mm.
to do that during this month? And what
Yeah,
does it look
sure.
like?
Yeah, I this is my first Ramadan as like a mother. I'm 2 months postpartum, and um, it's previous Ramadans I've had the time to, but this Ramadan I've been very restricted, around my baby. He's sort of like the focal point. Previous Ramadans I would go, that you always have like little events going on during this time. You've got lectures that you can attend. Attending Taraweeh at the masjid is a huge thing because it's sort of like a spiritual experience where you're stood amongst other sisters and you're listening to the recitation of the Quran, and it moves you. And I've not been able to do any of that because I've been sort of stuck in the premise of my own home. So I thought, let me bring that sort of feeling of spirituality into my household. And like I've not done this consciously, but it's so happened to be through creativity. Like for example, I've got like a prayer room and I've set up like candles and fairy lights and sort of dim lighting and cushions, and I've got like Ramadan decor just all around the house. So like wherever I am, I'm just reminded of Ramadan, and I feel that spiritual connection to it. Um, and I think also another thing is for me something that deeply moves me is poetry, and I love to consume poetry. I love to write it, and on my feed I've got a lot of Ramadan poetry sort of coming up, and that sort of poems about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about the miracle of the Quran, about connection to Allah and things like that. And even though I'm not right, once upon a time I was writing them, churning those up and posting on social media. Now I'm on the receiving end and I'm reading them, and it's still sort of taking in that creative element. And so yeah, I'm sort of still doing it, but in just a different way.
No, and it's so lovely to hear what you said about bringing that creativity, spiritual aspect of it, like in your own home, because obviously you can't at the moment, have access to that. And I think that's so
Mhm.
lovely way to I guess think about life, because it's true. Sometimes there will be times that we aren't able to do what maybe we have been in the past. So, okay, like how do you
Exactly,
adapt,
yeah.
and how, when something's really important to you, how do you kind of bring that or keep that, I guess, in your life? And I think that's such a
Hmm.
lovely reflection. And I was thinking, obviously, because this is the Creative Roots podcast, this is part of like a wider project which is being commissioned by Revolut and Arts in collaboration with Inspire FM, funded by Arts Council England. And it's just making me think a little bit, you attended a calligraphy workshop just in the run up, to Ramadan, and just like a really quick thoughts on what that was like for you, and yeah, and this aspect of you know going back to your roots in terms of creativity, because I think something like calligraphy is part of, I guess, our Islamic faith, like if we think about it historically.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just your general thoughts on that.
Yeah, so just to put it out that was run by my sister, so I sort of had to attend.
Mm.
Like, I wanted to be there, but I had to sort of be there. But I came in a little late because I was meant to be there to help set up, and I walked in and instantly I was just hit by like this scene of like everybody sitting on the floor, and there was like sort of low lighting and lamps set out, and it all just felt so like traditional, like as you would, like how it's within our tradition to sort of sit on the floor in front of a teacher and to be taught that way. So it just felt so authentic. And there was like a carpet laid out, and everyone was sat, and we were all close together in sort of like an intimate circle. And there were people of all ages. We had, young people, we had older people, we had some brothers there as well. So it was like a nice variety. And I'm somebody, I've never really dabbled in what's it in calligraphy. It's not something that
Mm.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the beauty of it as an observer, but I've never done it myself. And so this was all new to me as well. And I think, I'm not going to be biased here because, just saying something positive about my sister does hurt me. But yeah, I think she did such a beautiful job. I think the way she explained the history of calligraphy and how it's intertwined to our religion. And she also brought out like the little calligraphy sticks that seemed, the authentic way of how people back then used to sort of write with. And she had, that Indian black ink and the paper for it. And she really sat us down, and we went through how to do it, the strokes, the patterns. And it just felt, it was so beginner friendly, although a lot of people, the final product they produced was just amazing. um, but I had one of my friends that attended as well. She's never picked up a pen for calligraphy before, but the end result, it seemed as if she'd been doing it for years. And I said to her, I think you've got like a natural talent. And she was like, no, I think the teacher's just so good. Like it was just so coherent the way she was explaining it. It was very easy to follow. I
Yeah.
struggled a little bit. I found it really, really difficult.
Yeah, yeah.
But all in all, I think it was really like it was just so lovely. The whole atmosphere, the way it was taught, just everything.
Yeah, and no, and thank you so much for sharing that. So I think you're right, because all those things in terms of the setup, in terms of the teaching, and absolutely, the way that it was done to almost reflect that kind of historical significance of how that teacher-student relationship has been, especially in that realm of creativity, because it was such a massive part of kind of our Islamic heritage, right?
Focus, yeah.
Arts and culture has always been such a big part of it. And
Hmm.
just to touch on something you said there about the fact that, there were people there of different ages. You had, you know, um, both genders, and, there was a nice mix. So how
Hmm.
do you think, spaces like that can kind of nurture those connections between people? Like, what is it about spaces like that does that? And even like you said yourself, it was your sister kind of facilitating it, but did
Hmm.
you see her, I guess, in a different light? And yeah, so just a little bit
Oh
about.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think I almost sort of forgot that was my sister stood up there because she's very good at stepping into sort of a role, and she's got experience teaching as well. I'm a teacher myself by profession, so we're very good at just sort of teaching is a role play. You step into this role, and she was you like you're just suddenly very confident, and so it's interesting to sort of see her in that light.
Mm,
And in terms of things like this, bringing the community together, it's like, creativity. And particularly calligraphy, it's not bound to like a gender, it's not bound to age, ethnicity. Like creativity is for everybody. And so in these circles, it does allow for people to come together. Like, if you the people that were there that were older, I don't think they felt awkward being amongst younger people. It wasn't, it's not something, you don't think about age, or you don't think about
Mm.
those sort of labels when you're in a circle like that.
Mm.
And I think I think it's really interesting because you wouldn't otherwise be amongst people um
Yeah.
of certain different, I don't actually know what I'm trying to say here.
No, no, I could totally get, the fact that, yeah, you've literally got different like demographics. I mean, that's a
Yeah,
really
yeah.
boring kind of word to use, but it is that, isn't it? It's that
But yeah, yeah,
mix.
exactly.
It's that
Mix, yeah.
mix of people in
And
the
it
same.
doesn't feel out of place. It just I don't, it didn't really even occur to me like, oh, like, and
Yeah.
you know what, and it was nice because I actually saw some of my colleagues there as well that I didn't think would be there.
Mm.
So that was quite lovely.
Yeah, no, that's so great. And then, and also just a really like quick aspect, because obviously this is an Islamic calligraphy kind of introduction to calligraphy. And what was it like? I guess because obviously we live in the UK, majority of us obviously speak English, and we obviously will have our separate mother tongues. But what was that relationship like for you in terms of that connection to language? Being doing calligraphy, doing it in Arabic. And yeah, like, do you have any thoughts around that, what that felt like?
I think I'm a little struggling to sort of understand the question a
Yeah,
little.
no, that's fine. Okay. So I guess I'm thinking because, we're doing calligraphy and, we were doing it in Arabic, right?
Yeah.
But obviously it's not necessarily something that we might engage in all the time. So what was that
Mhm.
experience like for you that you're doing calligraphy, but obviously it's in a different language than
Like language,
what
yeah.
we.
I um I personally actually found it a little bit difficult. I'm not so used to writing in Arabic.
Mm,
I've done Alami in the past, and I've written in Arabic. That this felt like a complete different medium,
mm,
and to me it was a little bit difficult to get the flow of the letters
mm,
and things like that. But then on the flip side, I've seen other people that have never written in Arabic ever, like ever, and the way their pen was flowing and how effortlessly they were writing. I think one thing my sister sort of mentioned is let the pen guide you, don't guide the pen. And so like the very pen that is used for calligraphy is created and shaped in a way to allow for you to just it guides you through the paper, it glides through the paper. Um,
And that's such a beautiful quote that you shared. I mean, I just love it. It's so true, right? Because sometimes it is about, using that energy and kind of letting it flow through you rather than forcing it, right? And I
mhm,
think, that's so true. And I guess my last question really is, and it is kind of a big one, but just a kind of a positive thing because obviously it is Ramadan. Now, how
mhm.
do you think something like obviously engaging in creativity can kind of create that aspect and feeling of and peace and unity? And we've already reflected on it in terms of those kind of close community connections that it can create.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, ultimately, what is it about creativity that gives us that sense of peace, do you think?
Um, I think it's the fact that you're not restricted.
Mm,
It's so free flowing. It's so individual. Um, and the thing about creativity is it's so personal to everybody. What I view as creative wouldn't be you wouldn't find that creative. You might have a different definition. For some people, like creativity might be, painting, like my sister, and that's somewhere where she's the most herself, where she feels comfortable, where she feels at peace. For me, that would be, drawing sort of stresses me out. If I make a mistake, like you can't, if you're painting, you can't really rub out a paint stroke. Like that's something that stresses me out. But when I'm typing, I can backspace, I can sort of like writing for me, it's that's my sort of method of inner peace, and it's that's when I'm the most relaxed.
mm.
Um so
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I think that's such, that really, I think encapsulates so much. I think you're right, for an individual aspect, what that looks like, what that feels like, obviously would be different for everybody. But that's such a lovely way to kind of, yeah, I guess bring this like conversation to, yeah, just to sum it up. And I think that's so fantastic. And thank you so much, Sai, for your time today. It's been an absolute joy
You're very
speaking with
welcome.
you.
Thank you for your
And
time.
Yeah, no, thank you. And so that, everyone, is the Creative Roots podcast. So this is a production that I'm involved in. I'm involved in Imrana Mahmood, commissioned and presented by Revolution Arts, supported by Inspire FM and Arts Council England.